Why are we asking, will AI replace planners? When the real question is, how will organizations redesign planning jobs around AI?
Welcome to the Planner's Edge, where we discuss AI and planning theory and apply it into real world practice. I'm Yahaira. I've been in the planning for long enough to begin quietly thinking, am I being phased out? Have you had that thought? Usually, right before a deadline, when everyone wants faster, but nobody wants to own the consequences. On each episode, I use AI generated panelists to pressure test one idea, then we land it in a practical takeaway you can use this week. That's what I call the planner's edge. Today, we're using Donald Schön's book, The Reflective Practitioner, to answer one question: how do planners stay essential in 2026? And later, we'll test this in a real corridor redesign scenario, because that's where trust gets won or lost. Quick setup: Jeff is our implementation lens, efficiency, risk, how organizations actually behave. Mark is our reflective practice lens, sense making, trust, ethics in the planning field. I'll moderate and share the takeaways. Let's start with this question: if AI is here to stay, what does stay essential actually means in 2026?
From my perspective, it means the job gets redesigned. Not someday, now. And hear me out, it won't be framed as replace planners. It'll be framed as we can do more with fewer people.
Wait, are you saying that organizations will shrink? Many people are talking about that and the loss of jobs. Is that also applicable for knowledge workers like planners?
Even more so. Just picture this. If AI can handle routine work, things like meeting notes, summarizing comments, drafting memos, tables and graphs, first-pass research, the last-minute slideshow that you need to do for that last-minute meeting that wasn't in your calendar. All these are not final decisions, but the stuff that eats your week. It is reasonable for the leadership to ask why the team size stays the same.
I see. Let's hear what Mark has to say.
I agree the pressure is real, but what I'm worried about is what happens when speed becomes the goal. Because planning isn't a factory line, it's judgment under uncertainty. We are the ones who turn messy, conflicting inputs into decisions that communities can live with. And on top of that, we are also responsible to make those decisions real.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, the current tension is deliver faster versus don't break trust.
Right. And trust isn't just a values thing. It's essentially a risk thing. Trust collapses, projects stall, lawsuits happen, community engagement dies. That's expensive.
And Mark, when you say judgment, what's that in plain language?
It's deciding what the problem really is. It's naming trade-offs honestly. It's noticing what the room isn't saying. AI can write a clean paragraph, but it can't carry responsibility when that paragraph shapes a real decision.
That line matters. AI can't carry responsibility. We as planners have to carry that responsibility. It's almost like our legacy. Wow, that is powerful. I can feel the pressure now. Let's pivot and talk about the risks. Jeff, you go first. What's the failure mode you actually expect to see inside agencies?
I'll say there are three common ones. 1. People use AI casually, no standards, and the quality is uneven. 2. Leaders see the productivity bump and cut staff before the workflow is safe. 3. AI outputs get treated as good enough, and we end up publishing errors or misrepresenting public input.
So, the risk isn't only the tech, it's the organizational behavior around it.
That's it.
Mark, what would you say the risks are?
To tell you the truth, my biggest fear is polished wrongness. AI can make a flawed frame sound confident, especially when people are tired and deadlines are real. Another risk is that engagement becomes extractive. Something like we're mining comments to feed a summary instead of building legitimacy. And lastly, equity turns into a checkbox because the workflow rewards speed, not accountability.
Now, let's bring in Schön and the framing he introduces in his book about the high ground versus low ground. Jeff, where does AI land in that framework?
AI lives on the high ground. Technical problems, repeatable steps, pattern recognition. If you want an executive summary in 10 minutes, high ground. But it only works if we add guardrails. Because the minute it goes public, it becomes a credibility issue.
Mark, where does planning land?
In the low ground, because planning is messy. It's politics, lived experience, conflicting values, incomplete information. Schön's whole point is, real practice happens where the textbook doesn't fit, and you have to think in action. That's our superpower.
Let me push both of you. Jeff, when you say guardrails, what do you mean concretely? Not a slogan, like what would you actually implement?
A standard workflow. AI can draft, but a human verifies. And there's a decision log. What we heard, what we decided, why we decided it, and what evidence supports it. That's how you stay defensible.
So you're basically saying, don't outsource your accountability.
Exactly.
Mark, when people hear reflective practice, some think it means slow down forever. What do you mean without turning this into endless process?
Reflective practice is not pause everything. It's disciplined checking. What assumptions are we making? Who's missing? What might we be getting wrong? It's a way to move with integrity, not a reason to stall.
I like that. Move with integrity. All right, here's the hard question. What breaks if we optimize for speed and let trust erode? Like 5 years out.
Implementation collapses. You get rework, backlash, political reversals. Every project becomes conflict management. So you end up productive on paper, lots of outputs, but ineffective in reality.
So efficiency becomes fake.
Borrowed time. Real efficiency includes the cost of delay and relitigation.
Now the other side. Mark, what breaks if we do inclusion beautifully but can't land decisions?
People who need change now pay the price. If a safety project stalls, injuries continue. If housing policy stalls, displacement continues. So yes, process without action can be harm too.
So neither extreme works. My mother used to say that. Let's do the corridor scenario, because this is where listeners will recognize their real life. You're redesigning a corridor. AI summarizes public comments and drafts the staff memo. Trust is fragile. Leadership wants it fast. What do you prioritize first, and what do you refuse to do?
First, I'll define the decision criteria up front. Safety outcomes, access, business impacts, feasibility, equity. Then I'll use AI to organize input into themes and conflicts, not just top comments. And I'll refuse to publish an AI summary without a human owner verifying it. No exceptions.
Human owner, that's key. What risks do you accept?
Early drafts will be imperfect. Then iterate as many times as needed. We all know that we won't satisfy everyone. That's the reality that we live with anyways.
And what's unacceptable?
Misrepresenting public input, making claims you can't defend, or letting AI quietly become the decision maker.
Mark, same scenario. What's first for you?
I'll definitely name the frame publicly. What's on the table, what's not, and why. Then, yes, use AI for synthesis, but add a human layer that checks what's being oversimplified and whose voices are missing. And refuse to hide the method. If AI was used, say so, and explain the guardrails that were used.
So you're not anti AI, you're anti black box planning.
Exactly. People don't trust what they can't see.
What risks do you accept?
Slightly slower early stages if it prevents a later blowup. And I accept discomfort, because naming trade-offs up front triggers conflict. But it's honest.
And what's your unacceptable?
Turning engagement into extraction, sanitizing conflict, or using efficiency as an excuse when impacts are uneven.
Okay, now let's bring it together. If both of you are right, what do you actually agree on? What's non negotiable?
Human accountability for anything public-facing, a standard workflow, and checkpoints that prevent polished wrongness.
For me is transparency about trade-offs and how input shaped decisions. And a clear principle. AI supports the work. It doesn't authorize it.
So the shared line is AI can draft, humans verify, planners own the decision trail.
Yes, totally.
There you have it. Use AI to clear capacity, then claim ownership of the workflow, standards, verification, decision logs, and use the capacity you gain to protect what matters: trust, equity, and accountability before speed hardens into harm. Now, here's the planner's edge move from today, and you can use it on your next project. Let AI draft, humans verify, planners own the decision log. What you heard, what you chose, and why. Schön gives us a clean way to see where we still matter. AI thrives on the high ground. Planning earns legitimacy on the low ground. So the question for 2026 isn't, will AI replace me? It's, what part of the work will I own that can't be outsourced? Because it's tied to accountability, legitimacy, and real decisions. Remember, AI can draft the work, but planners own the outcomes. Thanks for listening to The Planner's Edge. If this episode helped, subscribe to my Substack so you don't miss next week's conversation. And if you want to go deeper, I linked Donald Schön's The Reflective Practitioner on my website using an affiliate link. Buying through that link supports the show at no extra cost to you. Next week, we zoom out with reshuffle, because the biggest disruption isn't the tool, it's the way work gets reorganized around it. Until next time.